Hello, my name is Ryan Green. Today we're going to go over a family disaster plan. Every company in the United States is required to have an emergency action plan. Essentially, that is a written plan that tells us what to do in case there is an emergency and how to keep us safe. However, how many of us at home do not have a plan like this? How many of us have not prepared any kind of written plan of what to do in case there was a fire or an earthquake or if we must spend an extended time away from our home? So it's important for us to create one of those and share it with our families and then train on it as well. So today we're going to go over a template that I've created. The first steps are pretty easy. It's a household address, family information, pets, and the registration number, and then the emergency contact numbers. So these are going to be people that live outside of your household, maybe their family or friends that live in the town, or people that can be easily gotten hold of. Next is your emergency action plan. Now, this is going to be a little bit more complex and may require a little bit more critical thinking. What I did for this is I went to my county emergency management website and I gathered all their plans for the most riskiest emergencies that they have listed in the county. Now, it's important to go to your county's emergency management website or your town's emergency management website because they will have these listed as well. For example, in Puyallup, Washington, where I grew up, we have a volcano called Mount Rainier, which is an active volcano, although it hasn't erupted in several hundred or thousands of years. There is a risk of a lahar wiping out the entire town if that volcano erupts. The lahar will be a mud flow of 50 to 100 foot high, and it will decimate the town within an hour. So in Puyallup, Washington, they have a very good emergency management plan for that. They have lahar warnings and they have sensors in the rivers and they have emergency evacuation routes. In California, they have tsunami routes and they'll have wildfire routes and earthquake plans. And in Oklahoma, they'll have tornado plans. So just look in your area that you live in and find what the plans are for those. Now, what I have done a little bit differently than some other emergency action plans is I use what's called a PACE plan. That's a primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency plan. So I have essentially four plans. Instead of a plan A and plan B, I have multiple plans in case one thing doesn't work out. What is important, however, if you do this, is to have set some triggers or have a reason why you need to go to the next plan. So, for example, my first plan, if there is a fire in the house, is to evacuate out my back doors. I actually have four back doors, and one is straight out of my master bedroom, and then I have a very large back door out of my living room, and then another one out of a another living room that I have, and so that would be a primary plan. It's easiest to get out of. However, for if any reason that is obstructed or there's a fire blocking that, I have my front door available. I could also evacuate out of my garage, which would be not ideal because there's a lot of more flammable and combustible things in my garage. And then I have evacuate out of my windows as the last plan. The reason why I have that as the last plan is they are fairly difficult to open, and my kids cannot open them by themselves. The locks are a little bit too high out of their reach, so that's not a great plan for them to evacuate out of. Home intrusion. I have call 911, conceal and cover, use deadly force with my firearms. That is my primary plan. I will protect my house and my kids and my family. However, if for any reason I cannot get to my firearm, I cannot conceal and cover, I'm going to barricade and cover, and I'm going to use the force with any available items that I have. Now, if for some reason I can't do that, maybe I'm caught off guard and I'm not able to protect myself and my family. I'm gonna evacuate myself and my family out the closest exit and call 911. Now, for if any reason I can't get to an exit or it's blocked off, or maybe there whoever is intruding into my home has that exit blocked off. I'm gonna barricade and conceal in my bedroom. I have multiple locks, and I have locks in my bathroom. I also have some exit routes in my bedroom that I can take. Same with tornado. I have a primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency plan. Hurricane, flood, and storm. And now these are all relatively the same. And what I did for these is I used my emergency management website and identified exit routes and things that I need to do and got smart on what to do in case there is tornadoes, hurricanes, and flood, extreme heat, extreme cold, wildfire, and civil disorder. So I marked all these down, and these are things I'm going to train my family on. All right, so moving forward here, let's talk about some escape routes. These are important to identify because we may not have thought about these before. So walk around your house, look at different escape routes, look at some of the challenges that you may have in your escape routes. As I talked about before, we found out that the windows are really hard to open, and the way that we found out these were hard to open is because we were doing some fire drills inside of our house, and we realized that the kids couldn't open up the windows. And so we said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go out this back door. And that's what we practice on. We practice on crawling on the ground and getting out the back door. All right. Next is a designated meetup location inside the neighborhood if for any reason we get separated. Front of the house is going to be the first one. Now, if for some reason we can't get to the front of the house, or it's blocked off, or it's just not a viable place to meet up, we're going to go to our next door neighbor's house. Then we have a house on the corner that we know the neighbors very well, and we'll go there. It's out of the way, and it's a little bit further away from any dangers or hazards that there may be. And then there's also the neighborhood entrance that we could go to, which is about 3/4 of a mile away. Next, if we need to evacuate the neighborhood, where is your meeting place? So first we have our school, and then we have our church, and we have the Merritt Island Fire Station, closest fire station near us, and then our my mother-in-law and my father-in-law's house, which is a couple hours away. So these are good meeting locations. What I recommend is putting the address in these as well. Of course, I'm not going to put the address on these for everyone to know. All right, so routes to safety. This is another important one that some people may skip over. Get out a map and look at some viable routes to safety. So I live on an island. There's about 3 or 4 ways off of the island, bridges that take you off the island. So I have 528, which is the first one, and then a little bit further up north is NASA Causeway. Those are going to be my two primary and alternate. Now, if for any reason those are taken out, maybe a hurricane or flooding or something happened, then I could go further down south. I could go on 520 or even further down south to Pineda Tropical Trail. So there's a couple routes that I can take there. Um, I don't want to go any further east because that'll take me right to the ocean, and that won't be a very good idea if there's a flood or a hurricane. So my route is gonna be trying to get as west and northwest as possible. All right, so long-term plan. So the most important things to think about is food, water, and shelter, right? So long-term plans, let's follow the primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency plans. So my long-term plan for food is I have a couple weeks of food readily available on hand, and I also have about 15 chickens with eggs. Alternate, if for some reason those aren't working out, maybe the 1 to 2 week plan is starting to wear off and we're getting past that 2 weeks, and I'm going to move into my alternate plan, and that's those 1 to 2 months of canned food and chickens with eggs. I also have a lot of water around me, a lot of ponds and lakes around me, so I can hunt and fish locally. I have wild pigs that run around and all kinds of animals where I live. The next is a contingency plan. So 3 or 4 month of freeze dried foods that I have some buckets of foods that have a 25-year shelf life. And I get a new bucket every couple months and I just keep stacking those up. I could also still hunt and fish and trade locally. Now, if I go 3 to 4 months for any reason and we still don't have a steady food supply, I also have 30,000 seeds to grow. I have a lot of books on how to grow. I've been practicing growing a lot of different foods in my backyard and raised flower beds that I have. I have chickens, and maybe I'll start working on acquiring livestock or more chickens. And of course, I'll be hunting and fishing locally as well. Now, water, I'll use household water for as long as possible. I also have some 3 to 5 gallons of water storage containers. And this is where I started getting a little bit more a little bit more critical thinking here because for me personally, when I was writing this, I started stumbling. What am I going to do after that? Well, that gave me ideas. I can start using some rain collection. So I'll go out and buy some barrels for rain collection, and I can also use some well water. We have a park down the road that we have a well that we can use, and then we can also uh, use some well water that we may have in the neighborhood. With that, I also have a lot of reservoirs and water around us that can be boiled, purified. Could use some filters as well. Next is shelter. So first, I want to shelter in place of the house, nearby friend's location, get a motel or a hotel. If I can't shelter at the house, maybe we have to evacuate. I could also go to the in-laws' house, which is east a couple hours, and then I can travel out of state to a family location. I have family up north. I also have family west in the Midwest and family on the West Coast if for any reason I need to go out there. All right, so I also have closest hotels listed. This is really important if for any reason I'm in a hurricane or I have power and internet outage, I can pull up the phone numbers or go straight to the addresses instead of just kind of wondering where they're at and driving around. So the next set should be filled out is school information for kids, important phone numbers that you have, local police, local fire, doctor, nearest hospital, insurance, all that stuff. I think it's really important to have this all put in one place. So if for any reason you need to go and get out of your house quickly, you have everything that you need right there and you don't have to go rustling around and digging under a bunch of paperwork to get all this information. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to fill it all out and then I'm going to put it in a binder. I'll also put it with any maps that I have. Maybe I'll take my maps and I'll draw some of these locations on there. I'll put emergency evacuation routes on my maps as well. And then I'll also put this with my emergency to go kit so I can just get everything in one place. And if I need to evacuate, I'll have everything where I need to go. What I'll also do is I'll make sure that I train my kids and my family on this, and we're going to practice some of these things too. In emergency situations, we don't typically rise to the occasion. We fall to our training, we fall to what we know. So I want to make sure that they know all these things, and they also know where to find this information for if any reason I can't get to this, they can get to it as well. So I hope this is helpful. If you'd like a copy of this template, you could always send me a email or direct message, and I'll be happy to clear all this stuff off there and give you a copy of the template. And if you need to, we can go over some of this stuff together, and we can create a emergency action plan as well. So with that, have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.